Lydia, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Absolutely excited about the opportunity.
Cool. So, our final session today, we are joined by the wonderful Lydia Clayton, who is AVP of Contact Center Operations and the Center of Excellence at Cox Automotive. So, Lydia is a hands-on senior leader who builds high-performing teams and has a lot of experience when it comes to transforming businesses and really making the most out of data. We're going to be chatting all about how Lydia and her team at Cox Automotive have been looking into centralizing data. And it's a really hot topic right now because they're working into predictive CX, which I know is something that a lot of people are really excited about, myself included. So before we do jump into questions, I just want to remind everyone that we still have the Q&A box open. Go ahead and ask as many as you can. If you ask it non-anonymously and we run out of time, I'll be able to connect you to Lydia following the session, but feel free to ask anonymously as well. And finally, please do remember that resources box, because we've got some really interesting reports and articles from our partners, including from Charlie and Ben with their State of CX report. And we've got a couple of links there. And the very, very last point from me before we get stuck in is our CX Leaders to Watch 2023. The nominations are open. I've just made the link available, so please do go ahead, nominate yourself, nominate your favorite colleague, go ahead and nominate whoever you like, and we'll be revealing that later on in the year. But for now, let's get to it. Lydia, please, can you just begin by telling us a bit about your background and a little bit about what you're currently focused on at Cox Automotive?
Sure. So I guess to start off, I think one of the things that's kind of led me into where I am today is at the core, I'm just a problem solver. So what are the root causes of issues and problems that we can really deliver a solution for? So a little bit about my background. I've been at Cox Automotive almost 14 years. Prior to joining Cox, I spent some time at Home Depot, which I led various roles. One that touches customer experience was a user experience team, as well as doing a lot of transformation initiatives from a technology perspective. My core background, I started out as a software engineer. So when I talk about problem solving, that's core to me on how do we really draw a solution or develop a solution to a current problem. I am also a vet. I was part of the U.S. military in the Air Force, hoorah. And I served for 4 years, and then I continued through Raytheon, doing some software engineering, system engineering, and design roles. That led me to Booz Allen, so I also have a consultative background that kind of continues some of the efforts that I've done in terms of serving our warfighters today. So a lot of my background deals with operations, technology, process management, change management, project management. How do you really transform an organization and develop a new solution to something that either we want to reimagine or something that didn't exist before? And that's what keeps me excited. So as a lead into the role that I'm in today at Cox Automotive, I've held various roles here at Cox. Cox is an amazing company. I'm not sure how many people know about Cox Automotive. Sometimes I think we're one of the best kept secrets. But if you've heard of Autotrader.com, that's one of our brands. Another large brand that we have is our wholesale auto auction. Mannheim is our brand. And the neat thing about the business, so we have about 20 brands, 20 plus brands, because we continue to grow and expand. We really deal with B2B and we also deal with B2C. And when you think about all the vehicles that are out there, we have touched almost every vehicle. If we haven't touched it yet, we will from some aspect. So client experience is very important to us because the clients in which we serve comes in various forms. It may be partnering with an OEM to help them transition their vehicles from the manufacturing lot or from a company fleet to a dealership, or it could be from a dealership that's looking to stock their lots with inventory, and so consumers can buy it. or maybe on our digital website through autotrader.com, one of our favorite bands where a consumer can go and buy a vehicle themselves, or a dealer can list vehicles for sale there for consumers. We also finance vehicles for dealers as well. So we have an array of things that we do. So all that to say, when you think about the various touch points that we have, my job really comes in to be, we had about, we're a company that grew through acquisitions. So we had, at that point when I started, about 12 brands. We have about 20 now, and they were all individual companies and their own unique identities. So how do we really measure the customer experience and the user, the agent experience from 12 siloed companies? So my role is, how do you create one contact center experience? How do we improve the experience for our clients? And how do we improve the experience for our agents? Because all things equal, client experience wins. And our agents are here to delight our clients. And that's what keeps them coming back, because we are experts in the automotive industry. And if they're informed and they're empowered, they can delight our clients. So that's it in a nutshell. So when you think about my role, just to put it in perspective, I really focus on three big strategies. How do we unify our experience to improve our agents and our clients? That's the end goal. That means, from an operations standpoint, getting everyone onto one technology platform for the different solutions that we garner. One telephony stack, one quality analytics tool, just one experience from the agent experience. And then I also standardize how we work on and provide support for our contact taking roles. So that's workforce management, quality assurance, reporting and analytics, which we'll talk about today, and knowledge and training and knowledge management. So my team is focused on how do we really service the business, enable the business to really deliver a consistent experience. So digital transformation, self-service, all of that is within the realm, because it all works on how do we reduce the cost to serve and overall tie to the experience. So that's
You're
a little bit
super
about me
busy.
and how I started. Very.
No. So one of the things that me and you have discussed before, Lydia, is the fact that you guys have, 20 plus brands, and you're currently trying to centralize, or in the process of doing that, centralizing all customer interactions data.
Yeah.
That sounds to me like a lot of hard work. So can you tell us first, why have you done this?
Yeah, so great question. So when I first took on the role, and the first ask was, okay, so how are our centers performing? And the question was, I don't know, because now you got to go from brand by brand to look individually, because we had nothing to connect them. And when you think about our overall mission to improve the client experience and really the agent experience, the only way you can do that is really through the data. Get insight into the business and really centralize the data, really harmonize the data, get everyone on the same page. We call it one source of the data, where how you measure service levels, we can all measure it the same, and we can be confident that when we say here's a service level, we all know what it means. So that was a significant undertaking, and really getting everyone, and if anyone's done technology transformation, getting everyone on the same telephony stack is a huge undertaking. And that's just step one before you really even start defining the data requirements that you need to really measure consistently. But when you ask, just simply, when you think about the why, from a overall Cox Automotive view, we want to be able to understand and to clearly articulate what our client experience is, what the expectation is for our clients, and what is that standard that we want to set. So that's what really kind of led us to that, and really connect us from all the brands. Because when you think about it from a client perspective, we say we're one Cox Auto, so that's what they're expecting. They're not expecting that we're going to serve them from 20 brands and operate autonomously. And the only way that we could operate as one Cox Automotive is really starting to connect the data. So we went on a journey. We built a data mart, and we knew we needed visibility into all interactions, not only voice, chat, email, but even quality. We needed even more training, like what type of training is happening? How do you measure that from a quality performance perspective? We also needed financial data, because you got to measure your KPIs and how effective are you being in terms of the cost to serve and so forth. So it was a significant undertaking. We're still transforming, if you will. We got it all together. We now have some good insights, but it's going to continue to evolve because we're learning more. We're now seeing data points connected together that we never really saw before. So it's giving you a different feel in terms of expectations and what do we need to go after. So it's been about an 18-month journey, building the data mart, a lot of the plumbing in the background, partnering with a lot of the teams, a lot of the stakeholders. So I mentioned 20 plus brands, so I have a lot of stakeholders and they all have different needs and perspectives. So how do we get them together to get on one sheet of music and really understand what do we measure and what is that best experience for us? And so we went out and did the design. And then we did the metrics and governance standards. Like, how do we really measure ourselves? How often do we change our KPIs? We have about 166 KPIs that we define. And that is what kind of led to the continuous improvement journey that we're going to be on from here on out.
Amazing. And what are some of the kind of key challenges that you're kind of coming across? Because you've just mentioned, as kind of Mary Beth was talking about earlier, getting people on the same page, getting your stakeholders, getting their buy-in. What are some of the challenges that you've experienced, Lydia?
Yeah, it's a great question. And kind of even going back with Mary Beth and alignment, because when you're operating from your own business and you've been measuring your business and you've been successful and you have what's key to you, it may change in terms of what's a key measurement for the overall enterprise. And sometimes when you set an enterprise calculation that's not what you measured before, you may not look as successful at that point until you really rebaseline and then things changed. So that was one of the big challenges, just getting everyone to really get on board with how do we define it and getting their voice and I call it getting their fingerprints on the plan to be a part of the transformation journey and where do we want to go, so they can help to really set the destination and where we're going. But it took a while because all those 20 brands, different voices, different stakeholders, things that we did of the past, and really buy into where we're going in the future. And really a lot of buying on the one Cox Automotive was really what really changed a lot of their perspective and brought them along. And also recognizing that success of the past, you could still be successful in the future, but let's define that together. And that's been one of the big wins in that. Another one is there's just some data that we never measured before. And really, when you have access and now you have insight and now you're trying to really get to a journey that you've never built, it requires different discipline, different KPIs. And a lot of things were newly introduced. And there was a lot of storytelling and understanding the why behind this is important to measure. And we didn't measure it before, but why we need to now. I think ultimately, the connectivity of the infrastructure, the hardware and piping the data through and so forth, I think that may have been probably the easiest part of the journey because, technology is technology and, we have a lot of smart people that's capable of doing it. More of the challenge is the storytelling, the buy-in, the transformation of the KPIs along the way, the narrative, not only to my stakeholders, but to the executives, and now getting them to understand what this KPI means and how we measure it and why it's important for the future. So I think those are the biggest challenges for us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And again, it just sounds like such a huge undertaking. So one of my questions that I have for you is, what are some of the benefits that you're already seeing from this initiative?
Yeah. So I will say a significant savings in time for the team, for my COE, for example. Anyone who knows workforce management knows it's a lot of data. It requires a lot of hands to really get to what you need to not only the forecast, but building the schedule, changing the schedules, and a lot of look back on what happened and what did we change. So before the data mart, a lot of that stuff was manual. And it's okay when it's manual for one brand, but when it's manual for 20 brands, that's a lot of people that's required. And we didn't have a lot of people. And we're steering the way the organization staffs and which directs the client experience. So there was a lot of hours and a lot of people just trying to really get their arms around where we are from a staffing perspective and where we need to be just to execute the overall process. So coming in with the data mart and with all the sources combined and everything rationalized and harmonized, now you can focus on telling the narrative and producing what happened. That really starts to build a story where we need to go. So it starts with leading to a lot of insightful conversations in our operational meetings on things that KPIs we may not have been attaining before, but now you have visibility in why you haven't been attaining those KPIs and set action plans for things that you need to do. And by and large, we're doing that and across 20 brands with the data mart and getting insight into the overall performance of all of our centers. We have been hitting service levels and beating service levels year over year by a significant lift, in many cases 10% over. And so we are seeing the results of what the action of pulling data together and how it supports your job and enable your job and enable action plans, most importantly, because I think once you know, the action happens. And we have a lot of passionate people in the company and very competitive. So that's the other part for the data. We have a lot of competitive people. So knowing that you missed your KPIs 1 week, you're certain not to miss it the next week, because now you've already kind of devised a plan on how to win. So that's been one. One of the things that it's extremely helpful for us is on the quality side, improving agent performance. So we have a quality analytics tool, and that data is also part of the data mart. And it's AI driven. So it has really reduced the amount of effort for our quality team from manual scorings to now we're going to auto QA. We're working on auto QAing by the end of the year, but it's going to take a significant lift. But what we're seeing right now in terms of the data, we're now seeing data points pulled together to really start leaning towards agent behavior. And so we're taking that feedback and it's inserted into coaching sessions to help improve the performance of our agents. So think about from a quality standpoint, one of the things we used to do, make sure you have 4 quality evaluations per agent. And that would only be a sample. You're taking hundreds of calls and you will be measured based on 4 quality audits. Well, now we can see the entire population of your calls, and you can have more audits done that provides a more holistic view of your overall performance, which leads to more improvement in trends that we may not have seen before. So it helps to really build the morale and the self-esteem of the agents, like, okay, now I understand, and here are some action plans that they can get to it. So the data is really starting to pull back a lot of insights that you just can't get to from a manual perspective, and really gleaning into specific action plans from the agent down to the supervisor, down to the overall leaders. And ultimately, it resonates with our clients. So we're seeing some significant improvements there as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And kind of on this point about what data you guys are looking at and how you're looking at it, we have had a question come in that I think fits quite well here. So one of our attendees has said, I'm the only CX employee in my company and I receive a lot of pushback. I'm sure everyone in the audience feels you there. Our company is construction based. How can I continue to be a voice for our customers? Are surveys the best data to share?
Yeah, I in fact, I was going to say through the surveys, and I'm not sure how you're aggregating that survey information. And I think that's where the power of data is, because having the data really pull back and look at key trends and feedback from the customers. The customer's voice is what speaks the loudest, and being able to say, here's a pain point that our customers have identified, and here are some of the things that I've identified through the journey that can really help to solve some of those problems. I think between the customer feedback and the agent feedback, because they're the voice of the customer, they're the front line, and a lot of times they know the process is better than anyone else, and they know where the opportunities are. So I would use a combination of both to really get armed and take that to your leader.
Awesome, thank you. And thank you for that question. And if anyone's got any more, please go ahead and use the Q&A box and I'll put them to Lydia as long as we've got time. So let's talk a little bit about some of the ways that you're using this data to identify pain points and build these use cases up. What are some of the initiatives that you've been implementing and why?
Yeah, And so QA sticks out a lot to me because I think it's one of those, QA and WFM are one of those, they're unsung heroes in the background, and they're the levers to drive the direct impact to a client experience. So from our QA program, it's competency-based. And that means we're really looking at your proficiency along the spectrum of how competent you are in a skill that you've been trained versus just a pass-fail. And with the data now, we are able to track your level of competency in a skill set and over time. And the other thing that it shows is when you compare it to all your evals, because now you have a historical view of your evals, it's not just one eval over the last year, you're seeing week over week the eval that you received, the feedback that you receive from your supervisor, and your competency and how you're trending along that path. And that really leads to a holistic conversation on the skill set and where the improvement opportunities are. And we wouldn't have been able to do that without the data. The other thing that we are leaning on, and we have not implemented this yet because it is now that we're having more better line of sight of the data, is how do we drive self-service more in the organization? We are still early in our self-service journey, and next year we're going to really turn up the heat on it. But now we have the data to pull back and say, we thought we had challenges here, but here are the intents and the data is telling us. Here's where we have some low-hanging fruit and where we have opportunity that we can have a big win and impact. We've started rolling out some other channels, like we have text messages and some parts of the business. We have emails, and we have a light use of chat at this moment. So as we start ramping that up some more, we'll get more data that will help really drive what type of intents are really good to supplement in those channels. But I think the biggest win, to come back to the main part of your story, where we're starting to see the improvements are, how do we help coach our agents to be coach for performance improvement in a positive way that directly impacts our clients, and also taking their feedback to improve our processes that we have within.
Awesome. And I think that one of the things that me and you have spoken about before, Lydia, is this idea of figuring out the customer pain points before they become pain points.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of ask you a little bit about that and that kind of predictive CX element. What are some of the benefits that you've seen from doing that?
Yeah. So it's interesting. Our customers always tell us, right? So it's a matter of aggregating the data so you can really see how significant it is. One of the simple things, and sometimes you underestimate the big impact, something that's very simplistic. It is really notifying a customer when a vehicle is ready. For example, I'm going to use that from our transportation division. So think about it from a customer perspective. If I'm a customer, I will tell you from my perspective, I don't like to call. I don't want to call you whenever, as we go through your journey. If you know there's something that I'm engaged with and there's a notification that says, hey, your order is ready or so forth, prompt me, let me know. And so that I can go take the next action that's required. So in our transportation division, it's all about vehicle verification, customer notification, and where the vehicle is located before you really send people and vehicles out there to just acquire that vehicle. That's very expensive. So as you look along the journey and you recognize where you tend to get calls over a certain amount of days, why not insert a simple text message at a certain point that would avoid a call? Because we've kind of, based on the data, we know that X amount of days, someone will call inquiring on the status. Well, we can preempt that with a notification, and that will reduce our overall calls for cost per contact. And now you've delighted the client because now you know that, oh, that's surprising. Okay, so my vehicle is ready for pickup, or it's going to happen on this date. And those simple things tend to delight people along the way. It doesn't really take much.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just kind of smoothing that journey out before people feel the need to get in touch. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I want to ask something, because we've only got a couple of minutes left, but there is something that I'd like to talk to you about, and that's agent experience. It's something that you've mentioned a couple of times throughout the discussion. And I want to ask, why do you think good agent experience is a really important consideration for CX professionals?
Yeah, that I think is a really, really good question. And reflecting in my business, and our job is really to solve problems for our clients. And in many cases, we are the middle person that's probably going beyond to help execute a task for our clients so they can take care of their clients. We've heard feedbacks from our dealers that our employees, they're the heart of their organization because their success is our success. So and that those are our frontline agents. They are experts in our systems. They are experts in our clients' businesses because that's what drives success. So it's important that they're not only empowered, but have the tools that they need because they will delight our clients. They take the next step, they go above and beyond and to make sure they do whatever they need to do to make sure the client has a good experience. So without that, then our clients are just interacting with tools and systems and processes, and you still have to have someone behind there to help them navigate or execute the task holistically. So the goal for us is how do we take the friction out of the process to make it more effortless for our agents, because then thereby it'll be more effortless for our clients. And they are the heartbeat of our organization, and they are the experts. They tell us where there's a problem that our clients may not feel because they're bearing the weight. And many times in companies, and not just ours, we do this in some cases too. Sometimes you roll out a product and it may be minimal viable product. It's not fully ready, but it's ready enough for a future perspective to test it. So the person behind that helps supplement that product are our agents. So they're at the front line, proving a concept, delivering a new tool or service, and that helps us determine where do we need to invest more in that product because it has been accepted by the market. It is a viable need. Our clients rely on it. So they're the blood. They're their heartbeat. They're the lifeline for support. So I think agent experience is very critical, and our job is to make sure that we're simplifying their jobs so that they can spend time focusing on more of the complex problems that tools may not be able to solve and be thought partners for our clients. And I think that's what keeps our clients coming back more and more because they feel like they have real partners helping them drive their business success.
Absolutely. And would you say that the centralizing of data across the different brands and building out these automation initiatives, would you say that that is improving agent experience at Cox?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because when you think about it, a lot, and I mentioned 20 brands. So imagine cutting across 20 brands, you may have at least 20 to 40 products. So an agent may be dealing with 7 products at a time. And to the extent that we can bring data and really pull things together to help them really determine where the customer's pain point is and to determine the next point, best action, we have reduced friction out of their processes so that they can better service the clients. And so that's the overall goal. That's where automation comes in. How do you simplify that experience so that they can add the true value in terms of their engagement and solving problems?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are just about out of time now, Lydia. I'm sorry that we've run a couple of minutes over. I could carry on talking to you all afternoon, to be honest, or I guess it's morning for you. But I wanted to just say a huge thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for sharing your insight, and thanks to the audience for joining us as well. And Lydia, as with our other speakers, her LinkedIn profile is on her speaker profile in the Zoom lobby. So under the speakers tab, you'll be able to find Lydia's LinkedIn profile if you wanted to carry on the conversation. But for now, thank you so much, Lydia. It's been really great. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, Chloe. You're always a joy.
Same to you. Same to you. An absolute pleasure. Cheers, Lydia.
Cheers.
Thank you. And for the rest of the audience, I just wanted to make you aware that we are back tomorrow at 9 a.m. EST or 2 p.m. British time if you're in Britain like me. And we're kicking off with the head of customer experience at YLE, which is Finland's national broadcaster. and they're doing some really interesting stuff with personalization and with AI. So do join us for that. But for now, that's it from me, and that's it from all our speakers. But thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are. Bye-bye.